Hey everybody, welcome to Web3 Wednesday. I'm Shelly Palmer here back in New York City on a kind of a rainy day. Welcome everyone, glad you're here. Please, chat's where it's at. Tell me where you are, who you are, tell each other what you do, and of course, ask me anything, because on Wednesdays, it's an Ask Me Anything kind of Wednesday. I hope all of you are safe and sound. I am heartbroken over what's going on in the Ukraine right now, and I want to jump right in and start there. This is an untenable situation for absolutely everybody, and been asked by every one of my clients, and I've been asked by so many of you how you can help and what you can do. Today I published a list. The list is from the social responsibility group at NBCU. They've diligently gone and found 11 different charities that are verified, that they have vetted, that have feet on the street in the Ukraine. I just made a link that's easy for you all. So shellypalmer.com/Ukraine. It's actually going to take you directly to the Today Show site, where they have listed a paragraph and a link to every one of these 11 charities. There are a bunch of different ways you can verify charities that aren't on the list, and this is really important. Today at shellypalmer.com, just the main blog post that I did today, you can go to check their tax situation. I got a link to the IRS. If they're regulated by the state, clearly you should go to every charity's website directly. Please, 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 please do not click on a link in an email. Do not click on a link in social media. Do not shoot a barcode. Do not shoot a QR code. You do not know where this is from. Go directly to the charity's website. Make sure it's exactly the URL you think it is, and be aware that the number of charlatans and hackers and scammers that are out right now during this very emotional time, it's at an all-time high. The people of Ukraine desperately, desperately need our help. I don't know what I would do if I was here in my apartment and they were rolling tanks down First Avenue and I had to get my family out and there was no one to help. So the best way we can help, they need food, they need shelter, they need supplies. We can't send those. There's no logistical way to get that over there, but we can send money to the organizations that have feet on the ground right there doing the work. So shellypalmer.com/Ukraine is going to get you to a site, the Today Show site, with the verified charities. Choose the one that you like, and I hope that you can donate whatever you can do. People just need your help, and I am hoping that this group, which is always an amazing group of people, can help. Welcome, Stephen Sobel, and welcome to Sheila and Paul and all of you who have weighed in here. Thank you so much. I see we've got some friends from Los Angeles. We've got some friends from right here in New York City and from the greater Washington, D.C. area. That's fantastic. I'm glad you're all here. Thank you for joining today. Again, this is Web3 Wednesday. It's an Ask Me Anything kind of day. We've got a lot of ground to cover. I hope that we can do a good job covering it. Today, we are expected to see a new executive order being signed, and that executive order is going to come from President Biden's desk, and it is about crypto regulation. So what are we expecting to see? Well, from what I have seen, and I'm looking right at the document's summary here, the order urges the Commerce Department to come up with a framework to help ensure U.S. leadership in digital asset innovation. It endorses the ongoing effort of the Federal Reserve to look into a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, central bank digital currency for the United States. And what else are we looking at here? Fight against the use of crypto in criminal and illicit activity. And that's been ongoing. This effort, and this is in quotes, addresses concerns that associates of the Russian President Vladimir Putin will use crypto to bypass sanctions. What? Okay, no, that's not how crypto is getting used. Not at a large scale. You can launder a little bit of money. We'll go over that in a minute. Look, I think it's really important for the United States. It is really important for the United States to have a policy, a very specific policy about cryptocurrency. We can talk a little bit later today about Gary Gensler and the SEC and what they're thinking about cryptocurrency in general. Let's see who else is here. Wow. Dio, welcome from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So glad to have you here. David Charmatz, glad you're here from Denver. Thank you. David Goldsmith, welcome in Studio City, California. How great. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. This is such an interesting day. While you're here, I know a lot of people are looking for blockchain resources, and people are asking about what we can do to clarify some of these points. Look, if you're not steeped in the technology of blockchain, if you don't deeply understand it, if you're not aware of the vagaries of decentralized finance, you're not alone. This is being highly politicized, and now is precisely and exactly the time you want to get into it. So what I would ask you to do is go to shellypalmer.com/blockchain. There's a book promo there for my best-selling book. Not the important part. The important part is that there is a giant set of resources there for you. You can learn, very easily learn about what blockchain is, what DeFi is, what Web3 is, and more importantly, what it isn't and what they aren't. So shellypalmer.com/blockchain, a whole pile of resources. The book is on Amazon. We donate the proceeds of the book, or part of the proceeds of the book. So yeah, let's just get a baseline of understanding, because without a baseline understanding, it's really, really, really difficult to have the conversations we're going to have today, because we're going to get a little deep in the woods. One of the things that the Biden administration is trying to prevent is this idea that the Russians are somehow going to use, going to use cryptocurrency to avoid the sanctions. So the question is, can Russia avoid the sanctions, the financial sanctions being put on them using cryptocurrency, as opposed to something else? So let's talk about that for 1 second. Of course, please ask your questions and feel free to weigh in on this if you've got a better idea. You want to call BS on what I'm about to say, please do that too. This is one man's opinion. Every cryptocurrency transaction, by definition, is recorded to a public distributed ledger called a blockchain. You can't hide it. The whole point is you can't hide it. Every transaction, not a few transactions, not a couple of transactions, every transaction is written to a public blockchain. So if I buy Bitcoin, if I trade USDT or I trade ETH for Bitcoin, if I trade anything for Bitcoin, if I trade for ETH, if I trade for Sol, if I trade for Matic, no matter what I do, it's recorded on a blockchain that is publicly explorable. The wallets can be anonymous, meaning I can have an anonymous wallet, no question about it. How much cryptocurrency are you moving at one time? If you're moving a few $100s at a time, for example, the person or persons or bot that hacked my MetaMask wallet in December took $396 of ETH at the time. I don't know what it would be worth today, but at the time it was worth $400 basically. We know exactly what wallet that $400 is sitting in. I don't know who owns the wallet. It's not worth finding out who owns the wallet, because I will spend more money than I could ever recover figuring out who stole my $400. I know where the $400 is, but it's not worth going after. When you launder money at the scale that an oligarch would launder money, or if you are trying to hide a transaction, how exactly are you moving $100 or $200 or $300 or $500 million of anything on a public blockchain that the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, the Treasury, IRS, everyone is going to have their eyes on that wallet? They're going to know exactly what that money is. Exactly what that money is. How hard is it to find out who owns that wallet? You just keep following the money on the public blockchains. At some point, the cryptocurrency, in order to be valuable, is going to need to be converted to fiat currency. Otherwise, it's not usable. So could you say, well, I'm going to take $100 million of US dollars, and on a KYC, know your customer exchange like Coinbase, I'm going to go and I'm going to buy USDT with it, which is stablecoin, United States dollar-backed stablecoin, technically. Then I'm going to go take that into my wallet, my $100 million of USDT, and I'm going to go over to Uniswap and I'm going to swap it for Monero, the most private of all currencies in the world. Yeah, maybe. Might be able to do that. Could I then, Monero, which is pretty private, could I go figure out who owns that wallet? I might not be able to figure out who owns that wallet, but I would easily be able to figure out the wallet, and I get to watch it. If you remember from a couple weeks ago, there was about $4 billion worth of Bitcoin that was being laundered by this couple, this female rapper and this, I think he was a Russian coder. And the two of them were a couple, and they were caught laundering a couple of $1 billion, 3.7 billion, I think it was, a few $100 at a time using Visa cards and debit cards and gift cards. Really? You're going to try and launder a couple $3 billion worth of crypto, a few $100 at a time on Walmart gift cards? Because that's how they got caught. And the way they got caught was the moment they tried to take any of that crypto and turn it into spendable fiat dollars. Everyone that was watching those wallets knew. Compare and contrast, shall we? Let's compare and contrast to taking a truck filled with $100 bills, green dollar bills, cash dollar bills, in duffel bags and spreading them around. Where's that transaction being recorded? How about you go see a banker at a bank that, let's just say, likes to operate under the letter of the law in some foreign country, and they decide they're going to move your fiat currency for you without telling anybody it belongs to you. That's straight up fraud. That's really money laundering. That's impossibly hard to find. You start to do some forensic counting around there, you understand now what the whole money laundering world is about. You start turning things into cash and then other currencies and then back and forth in the money markets, and you're buying a few $1 million here, a few $1 million there. Everybody floats money in the money markets all day long. People make investments in the money markets all day long. Institutions make investments in money markets all day long. They trade, it's commoditized. Show me some of that. That's really hard to forensically account for. But a blockchain transaction? Sorry. That's nonsense. There are no private blockchain transactions. There are anonymous wallets. And if you watch the wallet closely enough, you learn very quickly who that wallet belongs to. And it may take you a minute to figure it out if you're not the NSA. If you're the NSA, you got a pretty good understanding of what that is. While we're talking about things that are and that aren't, Metacademy.xyz is just a few days from launching. I know I say that every week. I sound so silly that I keep saying, it's launching, it's launching. This is our test environment. You're going to learn how to set up a wallet. You're going to learn how to create an NFT, how to create a generative NFT, how to read metadata. You're going to do it all in a very safe environment. It's totally free. It's totally risk-free because we're using test currency. You'll be on the Rinkeby testnet. It will not be real ETH. It will be fake ETH, and it will be fake Matic on the stuff that we do on the Polygon network. But we'll be doing that all of it in a test environment. So it's not only free of charge, it's completely risk-free. And I hope that you will go to Metacademy.xyz and you will sign up. I promise we will let you know the moment it is live. We're going to start beta testing it in a couple of days. Tell you the truth, the reason this thing is late, first reason it was late, which is totally, completely, 100% my fault. The first reason it was late was that this was way harder to do than we thought it was going to be, making a Web3 site to teach Web3. That was really, really tough. The second reason it's late is 100% on me. As we started getting into this, it occurred to me that it needed to be deeper, like way deeper. So I'm making it deeper. I've decided that every day I'm going to literally treat this like it's the only thing I'm doing in the morning. So we're going to try to get the word count up and try to make this thing as comprehensive as humanly possible. And it started as a test environment where you just go in and goof around a little bit without getting hurt. Now we're going to make it a full-up educational site that's going to take you on a journey from start to finish. So I hope you will sign up and indulge me a little bit for the lateness and help us understand. We have a question here. Let's see. From David H. I bet that's David Hool. What is your top recommendation for cloud backup for my computers? Oh, wow. Okay, a little off topic, but not really off topic. Backup and resiliency, really important. So thanks for that question, David. I have a couple for super cheap, like $6 a month. If all of your drives are attached to your computer, go ahead and go to Backblaze. It's $6 a month. I've used it on my MacBook Pro for about 2 years. I've needed to go back once and grab some files, and they were right there. It's neither fast nor slow. The backup is, I think, unlimited from a size perspective. So I like that for $6 a month. What I do is more detailed than that. I have a couple things going on. So for business continuity and resiliency, for yourself as a human being, first thing you want to do is you want to divide your files into 4 different categories. Top secret, like government top secret, James Bond top secret, for your eyes only, no one else gets to see it. The only other person gets to see it are people mentioned in your will when it's being read by your executor. Top secret, your inner sanctum. The next would be confidential. Confidential is your senior business leaders and no prying eyes from the outside, or your spouse and your family members, but no prying eyes from the outside. Confidential. Might include some people that are brought into business deals. A confidential document in your mind. Not confidential the way we write confidential in a business document, which doesn't really ever mean much except in a court of law that it was someone shared outside of an NDA. But in this case, confidential. Then the next 2 levels are, it's okay if people see this. It's not that big of a deal. And then the last level is, I know this is public. 4 levels. Top secret, confidential, it's okay if it gets out, I know it's out. Those are the 4 levels. Because you need to secure those 4 levels of documents in 4 different ways. Top secret may be printed and put in a safe. Top secret may not be online. Top secret may be end-to-end encrypted everywhere. Top secret may live on an encrypted jump drive that you bought from a third party that is not on your hard drive. You may have decided that either a portion or your entire hard drive will be end-to-end encrypted and the files will be encrypted, and you're going to keep the keys to that or the passwords in a very secret place. You have to decide what top secret means and how secret that is. Confidential, I have a lot of clients that keep their confidential documents equally as encrypted, and they keep a list of who gets to see it. Some people do this list a little different. They do top secret, secret, confidential, and we don't care. That's the way some of my clients do it. I just think top secret and secret are they get confused a lot. So I just say top secret, confidential. I wish no one else would see it. I know everyone's going to see it. The stuff that you don't want people to see is just inside the normal world of cloud storage, and then the stuff you don't care about. You don't care about. You can go on Facebook. That's not exactly, you are publishing it. So you know that this photo of your mom on a beach somewhere is absolutely, it's published. It's completely public. How do you do that? So that's the big question. Some people use Time Machine. It eats up an awful lot of drive space. If you have a Apple product and Time Machine's available to you, it's not a bad way to go. I would beg you to go look at the big clouds, Dropbox, Google, Box, iCloud, Azure, OneDrive, and figure out if any of that lives in your world, any of it, because, that's a great place to have redundancy. Here at the Palmer Group, we have a couple of NASs. We have 2 different kinds. We have Synology, which suck, and we have QNAPs, which really suck. So they're very expensive. They're NAS for network attached storage. They are vulnerable if you let them be vulnerable. and they are useless if they're not vulnerable. So if they're exposed in any way to the outside world where you can get to them and you're building your own cloud, you now have to be as secure as the people at the commercial cloud organizations. You have to be that diligent and that vigilant. We do it here because we move an awful lot of data around. We've got giant video files. We've got giant amounts of audio files. We have tons of workflow and process that require just a lot of data. And that data needs to move around internally. If you can afford it internally, obviously the highest bit rate you can move around your organization makes the most amount of sense. Do some research and decide exactly how much you want to invest in business continuity and resiliency. There is a giant leap from the $6 a month at Backblaze to having $20,000, $30,000 a box worth of NASs, keeping some in one location, keeping others in other locations. There's a whole other workflow and process to encrypting your hard drives, to parsing out your data into top secret, confidential, and who cares, or however you want to do it. Just, 4 levels, all up to you. In the world in which we live today, this is not optional. It's not optional in any way. It's not optional in any way. You're simply waiting for a time when you wish you did it. And I'll tell you what got my attention, really seriously got my attention about 4 weeks ago. We got hit with the QNAP ransomware attack. For reasons that cannot be explained to anyone, the ransomware attackers were inept at their job. And what they did was they infected the web layer, the topmost layer of the interface into our network attached storage devices. But they did not get to the data. How this happened, we do not know, because it was a 0-day attack and it took out a lot of QNAP servers. We just dodged a bullet. What did we do? We locked it all down, all of it, and it was painful. And you feel vulnerable, right? I mean, it's one thing you get hit with a DDoS attack. It's one thing someone comes in and socially engineers one of your employees into, clicking on something they shouldn't click on. But when a ransomware person gets in there with, rented ransomware and he starts asking you about, I think they wanted 0.3 Bitcoin. At the time it was roughly $10,000 to free up our hard drive. Unbeknownst to them, they hadn't gotten to our hard drive. But wow. Yeah. So that's what I would do. New question. Let's see what we got here. This is a question this is from B.L. Oakman, and it is, didn't some bad actors get into Ukraine's crypto that they were going to use an airdrop, and how was that done? I don't have any confirmed stories about any of this. I've seen a lot of news articles. I haven't been able to confirm or, any of it. I haven't spent that much time looking. The amount of people who can hack into socially engineer, people dealing with crypto, people who can hack, people just make mistakes is frightening. So the main thing to understand about crypto transactions is that when you authorize a crypto transaction, you need to know who you're authorizing your crypto transaction to. So, for example, you've got a MetaMask wallet and you go to OpenSea and you're going to mint an NFT there, which costs a little ETH. And more importantly, I think they're free to mint, but then you have to assign your wallet if you want to get paid in the secondary transaction. So you need to approve a future transaction at OpenSea that hasn't happened yet. It's not really a crypto transaction. They take that information, they put it in a database, which you hope is safe. Because what it does is it gives them permission to send you money at a later time and charge you a fee if a fee needs to be charged. If there's a commission for OpenSea, they need to be able to charge your wallet a fee for the secondary market sale, which they do make money on. So while it's free to mint, it may not be free to sell. In fact, it isn't free to sell. There's a commission involved. OpenSea takes, I think, 2.5 points. And you are giving them permission to do that. So what is that signing of that permission look like in your wallet? And of course, you're going to get a bunch of gobbledygook, and a thing says, approve or not, agree or not. The number of people who make mistakes in that environment, pretty significant. We've seen, I don't know how many mistakes where people are using bridges to unwrap their cryptocurrency. Maybe you've done something with Matic and you used wrapped ETH to do the transaction on the Polygon network, and now you need to unwrap that ETH in order to either execute the transaction and or claim your NFT and or just trade your cryptocurrency. You send it to a wallet that's not set up for that, your own wallet that's not set up for that, it's gone. That's the end of that. So, yeah, have to be a little careful. And I don't know, honestly, how I would be able to confirm the issues that have happened with crypto being misused or used in Ukraine. But I'll tell you flat out that the number of mistakes being made in the cryptocurrency world by people who are not yet schooled in the art, and by the way, by people who just make mistakes, is pretty amazing. Add in the bad actors and the people who are trying to get you to do things incorrectly. This gets really weird really quick. Samir H. asks, and please, do we know the contents of the executive order yet? I am on line streaming with you. I am not looking at my news feeds right now, but I am told that today the president is going to sign the executive order that we were talking about earlier. Which brings me to my next point. Well, first and foremost, let me just do this. Let me say that I need everyone to go to discord.gg/Shelly Palmer. If you're a Discord member already, just look for the Shelly Palmer server, but discord.gg/Shelly Palmer is our Discord server. It's replaced PGX, our private social network. We're moving everybody over to Discord. I hope you'll join us there. The conversation is robust. We've got a lot of smart people there. There's about 750 people there now, pretty strong. So I hope you'll join us at discord.gg/Shelly Palmer. And come on by and hang out with us and add your voice to a group of really smart, wonderful voices. What I want to talk about today is kind of a weird twist of fate. We had the Iron Curtain for years, when the Soviet Union was in place and I was young, and there was we were having our air raid drills and mutually assured destruction, and we were all scared about what the Soviet Union might or might not do. And the Iron Curtain went right through Berlin, and there was East and West Berlin, and we had a world where there was, I don't know, the evil empire. There was good, that's what Reagan called it, good and bad. They were the bad guys, we were the good guys, and better dead than red, and all this other crap that people used to spread. And in 1988, I was invited to the Soviet Union to conduct RSO Moscow, the Radio Symphony Orchestra Moscow. Many of you know I started my career as a composer-producer. If you remember, the United States boycotted the Olympics, then the Russians boycotted the Olympics, and Ted Turner, who at the time owned the Turner Networks, decided he was going to start the Goodwill Games because the Olympics was not happening, at least not in a global way, and he wanted to reach an olive branch out to the Soviet Union, and he wanted to have the world's greatest athletes come together for the Goodwill Games, and of course he was going to carry it globally on Turner. They needed some music to open and close the various shows and all the segments, and there was a gigantic amount of music written by a spectacular composer named Michel Camilo, and Michel was not able to go and conduct. He was busy doing something else. So the Turner organization hired me to go over, and they wanted to use a Russian orchestra with this Western composed set of theme music, and this was our version of collaboration. So I get on a plane with whole bunch of Turner executives, and we go to Moscow in 1988 to go to Gostel Radio, which is their version of like NBC, a big network area. And we were going to create this music package, hundreds and hundreds of cuts, fantastically fun as a project. So I meet the Radio Symphony Orchestra Moscow, and I'm told to bring over some American whiskey. So I brought over hundreds, because this is a 100-person orchestra, hundreds of bottles of Jack Daniels, which you really can't get in Russia at that time, and nylon stockings. Remember, I don't know if you remember this thing called legs. They came in an egg, and they were nylon stockings. So I brought hundreds of those in a suitcase, and I brought Flair pens with me, because apparently magic markers that you could write with were scarce. And I put, on each music stand, I put a pair of legs in the egg, 2 bottles of Jack, little ones, the airline bottles of Jack, and a full box of Flair pens. Musicians love to write music in Flair pens, and they apparently were really hard to get. Well, I was instantly seen as the conductor from heaven and made great friends. And there wasn't a lot of, I didn't speak any Russian at the time, although my background is, my ancestors are all from that part of the world. But I learned a couple words of Russian, but everybody spoke a musical Italian. So everybody knew what andazzo meant, everybody knew what allegro meant, everybody knew what pianissimo meant, everybody knew what forte meant. So being able to communicate in music was the way we all communicated. But something magical happened that made me super angry. And I haven't recovered from it, and I don't know how I feel about it now, which is why I'm sharing it with you. So while I was there, I got to meet these magnificent people. They were great musicians, and they were terrible musicians. It was a really interesting group of people, but they were wonderful human beings. Because I was there for so long, we were there for weeks, there were some people who worked at the Turner offices in Moscow, and they invited us, me and some of my colleagues, to their homes for dinner on given nights. I was taught from childhood to duck against the wall in the hallway with my classmates to fear a nuclear attack by the Russians. I was taught to hide under my desk. I was taught better dead than red. I was taught about the Red Menace. I was taught about the evil empire. These people were generally poor. They knew nothing about technology. They were just trying to make a living. And there were no men over the age of 50 in 1988 because they'd all died in the Second World War. Old women were doing the jobs a teenager would do in the United States, sweeping a floor, parking a car. There were no old men. I mean, very few, none that you could see. Every one of these people was just like me. Every one of these people played an instrument. Every one of these people had a family. Every one of these people had kids that they loved. Every one of these people were just people trying to make a living. That was my experience. And I was angry because I was told these people were evil and that they wanted us dead. And it was just the opposite when I got there. They weren't evil people. There were people wearing ballet shoes and Xenia suits, driving Mercedes-Benz cars who were very well off. And by comparison to the public, too well off. They made wealth inequality here seem like it didn't exist. And there were soldiers who were dressed in uniforms that didn't look well made. In fact, things were big in Russia, but they weren't well made. It was very obvious that size and scale and scope, the show was more important. Everything was a facade. Things didn't seem to have substance. And again, they had tried to scare me my whole childhood, and I got there and I didn't find scary people. I want to compare and contrast that with what's happening today, which is really scary and demonstratively evil. Demonstratively evil. But this isn't the people of Russia or the people of Ukraine. This is one guy and the organization he's put together. So Vladimir Putin has proven all of the things that I was supposed to be afraid of. And what I want to talk to you about today, in the time we have left, is this. There was an iron curtain that was actually made of iron when I was a kid, and the Cold War was raging. Russia has just isolated itself and been isolated digitally, and the digital iron curtain now joins the great firewall of China. And we find 3 countries on the earth, Iran, China, and Russia, not part of the free and open internet. So in a world that is information technology based, in a world where the internet is supposed to be the great connector of our societies and a great equalizer, the free and open internet no longer exists. Russia fully controls now, because they can, the flow of information digitally inside of Russia. China has been getting that done for a couple of years now, so the Great Firewall is pretty complete. And Iran speaks for itself. What does that mean to the greater global society? What does that mean for the propagation of propaganda? Think long and hard about this. Facebook is pulled out. Google's thinking about it. Twitter's pulled out. We've got a really interesting world right now. Russia can fully and completely control what the people see. Back in the day of the Iron Curtain, there was I don't know if you remember the commercial. The song they used was Broadway, the George Benson song, and it was for Radio Free Europe. Actually, George Benson did a cover of it. They were using the original back in the day. George Benson hadn't actually done the cover yet. But the song Broadway was what they used. And Radio Free Europe, what they did was, as long as you had line of sight, so roughly 26 miles in, depending on the tower height, you could get maybe 50, 70 miles in to the occupied territory, and you could send Western radio signals into the part of Germany that the Soviet Union controlled, and they could get a taste of the Western world. They could hear news that was not filtered. Now, of course, it was filtered the other way, right? It was propaganda from the other side, but at least they got two sides. They won't be getting two sides now. There is no internet-free Russia. There isn't, if you had radio-free Europe, you're not going to have internet-free Russia. Maybe Starlink can get it done, maybe not. Don't know how the Russians are going to feel about Starlink satellites over the tops of their airspace. Don't know. Don't know how we're going to get fair and balanced information, not Fox News fair and balanced, actual fair and balanced information into Russia now. How are we going to get the other side of the story heard? Yeah, absolutely. North Korea is off limits too, for sure. But the North Korean people don't drive 10% of the world's oil economy. The Russians do. This is a really big and interesting issue. I think it needs to be discussed more than it's being discussed. I don't know what the solution is precisely. I don't know that there is a good solution for it. But I do know that it's a real issue. And we have to think about what, the free and open internet means. So if we have democratized information, but it's not democratized in Russia, China, Iran, or as pointed out, North Korea, what happens with cryptocurrency in the world of decentralized finance? What happens there? So if you can't get to the internet, you can't get to your crypto. If someone's monitoring your internet, I've said very often, the only way to stop decentralized finance is to turn off the internet. Well, in effect, Russia has, China has, Iran has, and North Korea has. What other country will? What other country will isolate? Now, I don't want to put too fine a point on this, and I'm not an economist. I'm not a financial services professional. There's nothing about this show in any way that is to be construed as financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. The United States dollar is being used to punish the Russians, as it should be right now. But the downside of that, if there's a downside, and I don't think you can punish the Russians hard enough, so I'm not advocating for doing something different. The United States dollar is the exchange currency of the world. But if you make it unavailable to the Russian economy, if you make it unavailable to the economies of our enemies, in quotes, then they will find a competitive currency that will become the exchange currency of the world. That can't be good for the United States. Long term, that can't be good for the United States. Being the exchange currency of the world drives our economy here at home pretty significantly. You can go look online. It'll take you only seconds to find out the approximate holdings in dollars of various governments. We're the largest debtor nation in the world. People just own a ton of U.S. treasuries. Countries own a ton of U.S. treasuries. Why? It's safe. That's safe money. That's a safe place to put your money. Full faith and credit, United States government are behind you. So I'm seeing in the chat here, satellite dishes are a good game changer here. CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. Yeah, there's a lot of different stuff that may work. You need access to the internet. And we also have to think long and hard about what the United States dollar represents worldwide and how it contributes to the power of the United States, whatever that means to each and every one of you. I would ask you to become more educated. What will the crypto regulations do, both internally in the United States and externally? What does this new digital iron curtain mean to the world order as we understand it? The dissemination of information, misinformation, propaganda, both sides. How do you change the minds of people? What are they being told about us? I know what I was being told about them as a child. It didn't prove to be true. What are they being told about us? What are the Russians being told about the Ukrainians? We've heard incredibly crazy stories. We've listened to Vladimir Putin's speeches translated directly from his mouth, calling the Ukrainians Nazis and explaining that they're committing genocide. What? But if there's no way to get the other side of the story into Russia, how does that work out? And if you, unlike here, are punished by the government because they don't have freedom of the press in Russia, how's that all going to work out? So these are things for us to contemplate and ponder as we listen to our elected officials tell us about what they're going to do if a NATO country is attacked, but what they won't do while the Ukrainians are being savaged by the Russians. So we're seeing this with our own two eyes. And we have some moral judgments to make as human beings. We live in a constitutional representative democracy. We elect our leaders. They make our decisions for us. But we got to tell our elected leaders what we want, and they have to go make these decisions. What if the tanks are coming down Fifth Avenue? What if the tanks are coming down Main Street where you live? Who would you ask for help, and what would you expect them to do? I don't know about American exceptionalism. I don't know about being the strongest country on earth, but I know we have a military the Russians couldn't take. I'm not advocating for an escalation into a nuclear war, and I'm not advocating for anything. But doing what is right, not doing it right, but doing what is right, I think that's what we owe all of our fellow human beings on earth. What's the right thing to do, and when should we do it? Whose life is more important than someone else's life? When are we going to do it? These are questions we all need to ask ourselves. I hope we ask them out loud. You have the power personally to reach out to every single elected official that is in your area and tell them how you feel. It doesn't matter if it's an email. It doesn't matter if it's a form letter. They need to know. And if you do have the power to get on the phone and talk to your congressman, talk to your senator, talk to the vice president of the president, talk to someone at the State Department, then get on the phone. Get on the phone today and tell them what you think. And you don't have to agree with me. Just tell them what you think. We need to be heard. That's one of the beautiful things about where we live. We can be heard. So be heard. Get involved. If you can donate money, I hope you will. If you can get on the phone to an elected official and sway them or tell them your position, please do. It's one of the greatest gifts we have being Americans, that we get to be heard. And we still have a free and open internet here. So use it, because you can. With that, I'm going to thank you guys all very much for being here. As I tell you every single time, Shelly at shellypalmer.com. Please just send me an email. Here's something cool. You want to tell me something, you want to reach out, please do that. Love to hear from you. This is, as you know, my very favorite time of week, and I really appreciate the robust chat, and I really appreciate all the emails you send afterwards. It's really fantastic. Have a wonderful, fantastic, amazing week. Please stay safe. Please, if you can, donate to the cause. The Ukrainian people desperately need you to do this. ShellyPalmer.com/Ukraine will get you to the Today Show site, where NBC Social Responsibility Group has listed 11 verified charities. if you can, give. Please give a little bit till it hurts. You'd want them to do it for you, so we got to do it for them. With that, I will thank you and hope you guys have a wonderful week. Take care.